Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I hope all of you are doing well, and today I have a different sort of video for you guys. It's still very much a trading card game related video, but today I'm going to take a deeper look into three of the main characters that kind of show up in a lot of my projects over the years. It's Matt, Citrus, and Chloe. And so to start off, I'm going to be showing you different artwork I've made of them over the years, as well as art on their different cards. And so to start off, we have this piece, which is the first version of Matt that I drew. I think this was back in 2005. Now, the markers I used aren't exactly the best, but you can see here he's got his signature sunglasses and his torn shirt, and which are two things he's kind of kept throughout pretty much all the designs he's had over the years, as you will soon see. So I'm just going to put him off to the side there, and you can see a little better version of him, which I made a couple years later. And then this is around the time where I actually made his two friends. So you got Matt here, and then you've got one of the early versions of Citrus I made. You can see he's wearing like more of a suit instead of like his usual tank top that he has in more modern versions of the art. But there he is. And then finally you have Chloe here. You can see this is one of the earlier designs I have for her. And as far as these characters are concerned, they're kind of a trio of characters who live in the same city together, and they tend to team up to fight evildoers that are in the city. Like Matt has his special psychic abilities. You got Citrus, who has superhuman strength, and Chloe, who tends to outmaneuver her opponents using her agility and her quick wit, which is kind of cool. And I've got another Matt I made around the same time with which you can see kind of covers the eyes with his sunglasses, but is otherwise kind of the same. And then of course I couldn't help myself. I had to make like evil twin versions of like these three main characters. So here those are. So you got an evil twin of Chloe here, and of Matt, and of Citrus as well. I don't quite remember how these kind of came to be, like, as far as, like, the lore is concerned, but you have these kind of characters as well here, so there you go for that. And that was, like, these are all, like, prior to 2010, all these designs, so in 2010, I kind of started to remake these characters a little bit. So here's my first attempt at remaking Matt. It's kind of a little awkward, as you'll see these initial remakes. You can see like the arms are a little longer, but I tried to add a little more detail to the design. Sorry about that. You can see like the belt, you can see like the buttons on his shirt, and as well as the laces on his shoes. It's a little awkward here, but I think Citrus here is probably the best designed of this particular wave of characters, even though his arms are still a little long. I do like the shoes he has, and this was the first time I put the tank top on him instead of the suit he originally had. I could say I was kind of inspired by this and gave him an actual tank top to match. And then you've got the Chloe that matches. As far as these three arts are concerned, I was kind of basing them off of like this how to draw manga book I have that I can't really find right now, but that's kind of what the art is based off of. But I would eventually make some art that's a little bit more my style that I kind of like, and that leads us into these three versions, which are probably the current versions of these characters, and I kind of like these a lot. They're still a little more detailed, but they'll kind of match my style a little more that I tend to draw in. But as you can see, they've got a lot more details than the earlier versions have. And then sometime later, I also did update the evil twin / clone designs of them. Matt and Citrus kind of turned out fine on these, but Chloe's a little awkward. Can you even really tell here where the pupil in her eye is? But other than that, I do think these are pretty good updates as far as those are concerned. And speaking of updates, I've also got an update for Matt in 2020 that I drew. You can see he's got an actual shirt underneath this white trench coat, which is actually a lot longer now. And he's got like these futuristic bracelets around his wrists, which is pretty cool. I kind of like this one. And then finally, as far as like these paper cutout things that I have to show, I made these in 2024, which are kind of like Matt, Citrus, and Chloe representing like fantasy characters in like party of fantasy adventures. You've got Chloe as an archer here. You've got Citrus as a fighter, and Matt, of course, is a wizard. I kind of like his little hat here, which kind of I might reuse these designs in future sets of Collided Worlds, because one of my goals for the Collided Worlds card game is each set's going to have like a different setting and theme, and so one of my settings would be a fantasy setting, and one thing I would do for the other Collided World sets is to have Matt, Citrus, and Chloe flavored to that particular setting in each of the sets, and so that's kind of some art I can use there. And moving on to that, I want to get into the cards now that I've drawn over the years featuring these characters. Unfortunately, I don't have the earliest cards I made, which are the ones for the version 1 of the Make Your Own card game. But so to start off, I've got the versions for the 2014 version of Make Your Owns, which is the version 2. So you can see Matt has his psychic energy, which you'll see a lot of in his cards. I do tend to use that a lot. We've got Citrus here stomping the ground, and then Chloe, I didn't really do much for her, unfortunately. I probably should have. And the backgrounds on these are kind of simplistic or non-existent. So those are the first cards that I have available. And then we get into some of the iterations of Collided Worlds I made. Here's those versions of these 3 characters. They have a little bit more going on in the background, and they're definitely a lot better. I do like these a lot still. And then you have, if you want a little closer look at those, there's Matt here. There's Citrus, and there's Chloe. And so with that, I'm going to get into another version. This is version 3, which I have shown off in a video before. So there's Matt from that version. Citrus, who's rocking the same pose he has in the earlier art. And then there's Chloe here again. And that was version 3. And now I've got some version 5, which I do want to show off in full on the channel at some point. Problem is there's a lot of cards to cover, and that might take a couple of episodes, but in the meantime, here's the Matt I've used in that version. You can see once again he's got his signature psychic energy. He's got these cards I've made in 2021. You got Citrus with the earthquake in the background. I kind of like that. And then here's Chloe giving the thumbs up and the little lightning bolt in the background. Another nice piece. And again, I do plan to show the rest of the cards from this era of Collided Worlds in a future video, so definitely stay tuned for those when I decide to release them. And now we come on to some more familiar takes on these characters. So you've got Chloe, you got Citrus, and you've got Matt from the 2024 version of the Make Your Own card game. These are arts I've made before I've made these fantasy character arts, so these actually came first, and you can see they all have the evasive ability as well as varying of stats and costs, but still they kind of have that unify them a little bit. And then as far as last cards are concerned, these are like the playtest cards I've made for the most recent version of Collided Worlds. Those are the simple arts, but I've also got a little sneak peek to show you, because in my sketchbook, I've drawn the official art for all three of these characters that I'm going to use on the actual cards. And as you can see, these are probably my favorite art of these characters. And one thing about the backgrounds of these cards is not only they're a little bit abstract, but you can tell like they're the same colors as their cards. So Matt has a blue background to match his blue card. Citrus was yellow, and so on and so forth. And so there's some art for Collided Worlds coming up that I wanted to show off, and that's about all I've got for today to show you guys in regards to these characters. There's definitely a couple things I've made for other things I've made for these characters over the years that I haven't been able to show. I've made Mii's of these characters on the Wii and 3DS, and I've made them as custom characters in a couple of different Guitar Hero games, as well as making little sprites for these characters that I can use in my RPG Maker games as well. So yeah, I've definitely had a lot of fun making these characters and iterating on them over the years, and I look forward to continuing to use them in my card games going forward. So definitely leave this video a like if you enjoyed this kind of video and you want to see more like this, as where I go into my design evolution of my different characters over the years. And consider subscribing if you enjoy this content, and comment below which of these iterations is your favorite. I'll see you in whatever video I upload next, and take care.